Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy's live Facebook stream. Today we're having an exciting guest with us today, Baholo Mokhomo, who plays volleyball. And yeah, Baholo, welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy, and thank you for joining us today.
Okay. Yes, Francis. Can you repeat?
Yes, I said welcome to Africa Sports Consultancy, and thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Francis, for the invitation. I think I've been waiting for the invitation, and finally it came, and I'm glad to be here, to be hosted by you. I'm thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. Just now, before we start, I'm sure a lot of people are very excited to hear more about sports, academics, and all the other things that you're involved in. But I'm sure they also want to know Baholo. Who is Baholo? Tell us a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Tell us, who are you besides sporting and academics and all the other things?
Okay. I come from, it's a very small town just outside Bloom, Marquardt. It's about 2-hour drive from here. And I'm the eldest of the 5 children that my parents have. So I'm sort of the pioneer in the family, trying to lead by example for my siblings who are coming along. I think that's the one thing that is pushing me so hard to ensure that I set a good example to my siblings and to my parents as well. I think they have sacrificed a lot for me to be where I am, and the little that they do, I know for them it's really a lot, and I always want to do my best to ensure that I'm giving back to them first, and then to my siblings, and then to my friends, that whether they're in Marquardt, in Bloom, wherever they can be, others in China. So it's really, for me, just about the people that are close to me.
Absolutely, absolutely interesting. And I see you already started on a high note right there, setting the bar high already. But yeah, so, onto the volleyball side of things, tell us a bit more about that. When exactly did you start, playing volleyball? How did you get exposed to the sport?
Okay, I got exposed to volleyball. I was in grade 6. That was grade 6. So I was just roaming around the tennis courts back at home, not doing anything in particular. And then I saw the guys playing volleyball. So I just had that interest in the sport. So I would just stand along the court and watch them for days. Eventually the coach was like, just come this side, come practice with us. Maybe you will learn a few things. So then I joined the sport, and ever since then, it's been one of the things that I love doing the most.
No, interesting. And I know you played also a bit of rugby. Are you interested in sharing a bit with us about the rugby? Was it
you
serious
didn't tell
rugby?
Me you're gonna go there. Okay, it's a funny story actually about rugby, how it started. You would not believe that I absolutely hated the sport at the beginning. I just didn't understand why people would just grab the ball and be hitting on each other so badly. It was just like, this is unbelievable. There's no way I'm playing this sport. But fast forward, when I was in Bloom, actually this was 2011, I got an opportunity to be part of a school that has a good rugby tradition, HTS Fleabota. That's where I did my high school. And then I was in the hostel. So normally hostel guys who would play tashes after supper, just before the studies. So I started playing tashes with the guys. I started playing tashes, learning the rules here and there. By the end of that year, I was playing in the under-16 team. And then my rugby just got better and better. At the end of my matric year, I was playing the first team. I also played for the Free State Academy Week. And then I think in high school, my last tournament was with the sevens team. We played in Pretoria. So yeah, the rugby was there. Just didn't have, I'd say, the time to actually pursue it at a professional level.
No, actually, very interesting. I mean, there's so much that you did. There's so much that you did. So correct me if I'm wrong. I know you also did long jump. Am I right by saying that?
Yeah, obviously, I was quite active in that time. I did long jump and triple jump. Actually, that is how I got to Bloom. This was 2011. I was competing in the Free State schools. We were in Sasol. That time, I didn't know what the spike was. Like I had never worn a spike on my feet. So I was competing barefoot. And then I started breaking records. People were actually shocked that this guy is just jumping barefoot and is breaking records. And then the plan at that stage with my now deceased teacher was that let's push as hard as we can this year so that if the principal of Louis Botha, because we knew whenever he saw somebody from, let's say, a poor background, but was doing well athletics-wise, they would normally give that person a scholarship. So my teacher and I had a plan to say, you know, this year we are pushing and pushing so that I get recognized by the principal, Mr. Hendricks, which thankfully happened. And then when he saw I'm doing well, he was like, I would like for you to come and do the same for my school. So because it was just the plan that I had, I just agreed to it. I was like, yes, this has been what I wanted all along. So I'm definitely coming to the school. So that's how I actually got to Bloom. And yeah, long jump and triple jump, I was doing quite well there as well, up until I had to say goodbye to the sport.
Interesting. I mean, I see you kind of touched on a lot of things as you're going older, but I mean, you touched on something, you know, I think that's very important, and I think that can be helpful to, you know, some of the viewers out there. You know, the fact that you had a plan to get a scholarship and to go to a certain school where you knew you're going to get more opportunities. What advice would you give to, you know, youngsters out there that are seeking better opportunities or are seeking to go to better schools, but they also play maybe some decent sport? What advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do, and how would you tell them to go about seeking an opportunity?
Okay, for the youngsters who are upcoming, I'd just say focus on your graft. The thing is, you have to try to do well everything that you want to do, be it soccer, rugby, table tennis, athletics. Focus on your training, ensure that you give yourself enough time so that when the moment comes, you are ready to actually take it with both hands. Because sometimes we do get these opportunities, but then somehow after a while we miss out on them. We realize too late that they were there. So get yourself ready for when the moment comes so that you can make the most out of it. And I would also say, while you are still trying to do better on the sports side, focus on the academics as well, because I think for me, that's the important part as well. You can easily get injured during a soccer match, rugby, or even athletics practice. It can happen to anyone. So you must also have a plan B, something that you can fall back on, something that will ensure that, you can take care of your family at the end of the day. Because I think for me, that's the most important part, for us to be able to provide for our families. Yes.
No, absolutely brilliant advice, and I'm sure the youngsters watching out there would really take this advice and use it wisely. I mean, those are very powerful words of wisdom there that you gave out. Now going back to the original sports that brought us, to sit here today. I see we kind of diverted a bit from that. Yeah, so tell us a bit more about the volleyball. I know you played for the Free State volleyball side. Tell us a bit more about your elevation from starting to play volleyball, learning about the sport and elevating your way to, I'd say, a very good level of a provincial side.
So when I started playing, actually, in that first year when I started, and that was in 2008, somewhere there, I actually got selected for the provincial team already for the under 15 that took part in a competition that was held in Durban. But at that stage, I was probably the last person to be chosen. So, but I was just happy. I was like, okay, this is my first time actually playing the sport. And I managed to make it to the provincial side for my age group. I was quite happy with it. I was like, okay, it's fine. It means there is something that I'm doing well, actually, at this age. And then the following year, we also had trials. I had enough time now to practice, to perfect my craft, to focus on a few skills that are crucial for the provincial side. Because what I realized when we got to national was that the other provinces had very good hitters. We were just good in defense. And that's how we actually managed to finish third at that stage. But I was not happy with the result. I was like, that we do have potential, and if we can work hard, we can actually get to a point where we compete in the finals, because we were just starting out and we managed to be in the third place. So there's nothing stopping us at that stage to actually go to the first place. So we practiced, and I thought the team that we had for that year was good enough to make it to the finals. But unfortunately, the tournament was canceled. And yeah, it really broke my heart, because it was just like, all my effort now just went to waste. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I think that's when I decided to focus on the athletics. I stopped volleyball for my whole high school career. So I stopped playing. I was just doing athletics and rugby. I began with volleyball again when I was in varsity. So this was 2015. And I know my teammates, if they are watching, they know. I used to be at athletics practice first, and then I would go to volleyball after. And they were quite mad with me. They're like, why are you doing this to us? You're a good player and you can get better. Just come and focus here. So that went on for about a year and a half or so. Eventually, I was like, okay, it's fine. Athletics is tough. My accounting degree is tough. Let me just go the volleyball route, where I know it is tough as well, but I know I can get the most out of it. So that's when I began focusing purely on volleyball and doing my best so that I can get selected on the provincial team, and also try to do well for the province when it comes to national competitions. So up until that was 2017. And then 2017, yeah, I did get selected for the provincial side, 2017, 2018, and 2019. Last year, we didn't have any provincial competitions because of the COVID. And this year, we are trying to get back to the quad. We'll just have to see how we can maybe squeeze in a few competitions in the last quarter at this stage. Yes.
Oh, that's definitely, that's quite interesting. It's an interesting journey that you had with volleyball, from stopping throughout your high school, and then continuing at varsity and kind of starting over in a certain way again. So I'm sure you're very talented to be able to stop and continue after a lot of years and still, play competitively. That's really impressive. Um, just, what are the fundamental things that a person who's interested in playing volleyball should keep in mind when it comes to physical training, maybe eating healthy or mindset wise.
I think some of the fundamental things I'd say, your hand-to-eye coordination has to be quite well, because you have to judge the ball to see where is the ball going, estimate how am I going to play it. And then comes obviously the athletic ability. Do you have that athletic ability to say you can improve from when you start going forward? Also be committed, because I know of a few players who began their career way into their 20s, and they are actually playing quite well for people who began volleyball quite late. So you must be willing to put in the hours as well to learn, because there's a few rules that you'll have to learn that after you have learned, they just become a second nature. So somebody does not need to remind you of those rules. You will just know this is how the sport is being played. And then be able to adjust, because you will never be on top of your form the whole time. It happens, you can be very fit, be excited for a game, but then it's just not coming on the day. So in those days, be willing to adjust to see how can I better serve my team at this point in time, because it is a team sport. So you must be willing to play another role that you're not used to playing. And then you just encourage your teammates to maybe play the role that you normally play, so that they can help the team to win. I know with myself as well, it happens that I know I'm excited for this game. I want to do my best, but then somehow my attack is not coming on the day. I focus on some of the basic stuff like passing. I ensure that my passes are well to my setter, so that other people can excel during the game. And because it's a rally sport, you're playing point by point, point by point. It's very important for a player to be focused on the present. It doesn't help that you fight about a previous point that happened. You still have a long way to go in the set for you guys to complete the match. So it's always about focus on what's coming next. So a point comes, make sure you play to the best of your ability. And communication-wise, also very important in the sport, because the balls are moving in so fast. You guys have to talk to say who's got this ball, who's playing the next one, those kind of things.
Absolutely interesting. Touch on very important, things like communication and things like living in the moment. Not worrying about what happened before that. And I'm sure our viewers out there will take these, these wise words and not only use them in sports, but use them in life in general. Because I feel, or I think these are very important principles to live by, not only in sports but in everything as well. So moving forward to the academic side. I know you did. You have an accounting degree, which I can testify that is one of the most demanding degrees that you can do at university level. So, what drove you into accounting, and how were you able to manage between, athletics, accounting, volleyball, and also leadership positions that you had, throughout your university career?
Yeah, Accounting. Funny story, when I started with accounting, this was in 2011. I had just moved to Louisbota. It was an English home language school. I just came from Sesotho home language, and it was a tough one. So this was grade 9. I think my marks dropped because at that stage it was still economics and management sciences, but it had an accounting portion to it. So my EMS marks just dropped badly. And I was like, I expected this to happen because I knew English is not my home language and I will definitely struggle. I will definitely have to put in more work for me to get the marks I'm used to getting. So when I got to Louisbota, we were just starting out with the general ledger, if I might just say. It's an accounting records segment, if I may say. So that test was out of 70, and I literally got 6 out of 70 for that test, and it was terrible. But I had to come back to myself, be like, you know what, I'm capable of doing this thing. I know I can pass it. So by the end of that year, I think I passed quite well for somebody who had just moved to an English home language school. And we were doing subject selection. So I had to choose which route am I taking now. In that choice, I had to choose either accounting, computer, what's this one, CAT, it's a computer assisted technology, I can't remember what they call it, and information technology. So from my side, I was like, the easiest thing for me at this point in time, because first of all, I don't have a laptop at that stage. I don't know how this thing is working. I was like, I don't want to go into something I haven't done before. So the safest bet for me is to go the accounting route. And I remember I was talking to my mom, I'm like, there's no other option for me at this stage. He was like, Baholo, accounting is very difficult. Are you sure you want to do this? I was like, yeah, I can manage. So grade 10, I think what helped me was I just had this extreme focus on my studies at that point in time. I would do my accounting homeworks while I was in class because it would happen that we are so forward in terms of accounting that the next period of accounting, our teacher would not have anything for us to learn. So she would be just like, guys, just sit down, do whatever you want to do, because there's nothing for me to teach you at this point in time. You guys are way forward than other classes. So at that point in time, I would use the time to do my homeworks. I loved working forward in terms of accounting. Somehow I developed passion for it. So grade 10, grade 11, same process, grade 12, same process. And I got my distinction at the end of matric for accounting. I was happy. I remember my accounting teacher was just so happy. She was just like, I did not expect you to be doing so well because you had just moved 4 years ago from English, from Sesotho home language to English home language. So in a matric year, we had outside firms, the private firms come in for a career day, and they introduced to us the CASA designation. And somehow it resonated with me. I was like, okay, this is the route that I'm taking. And then I enrolled at UOPS for the Bachelor of Accounting degree. And yeah, first year went well, second year went well, third year came, and it was a bit difficult. I was like, did I really sign up for this? I remember I was studying. At a point in time, we were cross-nighting at RES, because at RES, we had a number of people who were actually doing accounting. We were cross-nighting, trying to tackle this thing. We were fighting to qualify for CTA next year. So it was really difficult at that point in time. But I think we had a very good support structure in terms of the guys who were in res. So we would always try to assist each other, always be there for each other, you know. So the final exams came for third year. Somehow we managed to pass and to qualify for CTA. We went to CTA again, same thing again. CTA is tough. I remember that year, I think my worst mark was like a 27% for accounting, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, but I studied so hard for this test, but I'm failing. So I had to go back to the drawing board. I think at that point in time, I had just been exposed to manpower. So Avu had this wonderful book by one of the good writers. So I read that book, went through the book, trying to understand manpower, what's happening, because I was just out of options. How am I going to pass this year? And he just exposed me to say, you know what, the things that you repeatedly do, the things that you tell yourself more often, those are the things that are likely to happen to your life. So I began writing down on my leisure, I am going to pass accounting this year, I'm going to pass this degree this year, I am going to pass. And I would go through that process every day, just trying to instill that belief again, to say, you know what, you're capable, you can do this. So we went to the final exams for CTA. I think my biggest fear was the management accounting side of it. And yeah, I wrote that exam. I was just not sure I passed. On the day of the results, they had indicated that the results are going to come out at, I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock at one of the halls. But I was just so scared to go to the hall to fetch my results, because like, what if I'm doing a walk of shame? Here I am, I failed, or like, no, there's no way I'm going there. So I literally was in my room, around about 1 o'clock, watching series, trying to distract myself. I'm like, I don't even want to go outside, it's fine. I was sweating. A good friend of mine couldn't believe what was happening to me. He's like, bro, what's happening? Because I was just so stressed at that point in time. So around 4 o'clock, they put the results on Blackboard. So I went to check the results. And when I realized that I had passed CTA first time, I think I went around that race, screaming at the top of my voice. I was just so excited, because like, I don't believe this actually happened, because this year was one of the most difficult years for me at that point in time. I remember I had to give up the leadership positions at RES in that year, and I gave up the tutoring that I was doing in the previous years, because I started tutoring in my second year right through to my third year. So when I realized that third year was difficult, I was like, there's no way I'm going to manage CTA, tutoring, and leadership positions at RES. So I had to give up my tutoring and the leadership positions I held at RES, just so that I can focus on my CTA. So in terms of leadership at RES, I was the RC academics. I also was part of the college committee that organized events for the committee. You remember the different races were combined into one huge college, trying to bridge the gap between the different classes and genders and races at UOFs, I think, which was a good project. We tried to run with the projects that we had that year. I just think it was a bit early. People were just not receptive to the idea. We had a few people who were supporting, which I'm really thankful for. But I was glad to be part of that journey and that group of leaders. It was actually nice to be part of that group of leaders.
No, great. Great. I mean, that's such a fantastic story. I was just listening to it, and there's a few funny moments there, and also a few inspiring moments. You know, unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time. We have a minute left on our session, and time runs out so fast when you're having a great conversation like we've been having today. Um, just to ask you maybe one last question before we close off. Um, what advice would you give to a young potential or professional athlete out there that also wants to pursue an academic career on the side? When it comes to choosing courses, would you advise them to choose courses as demanding as accounting, as demanding as medicine? Um, what advice would you give them when they're now selecting the courses that would actually enable them to progress in their sporting career and also, you know, gain an academic profession or qualification?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question, I must say. I think, sorry, for me, it will be to say one must just identify what they are really good at, and at the end of the day, what one really wants to do in the future. So I think if one can answer those questions, that question first to say, what do I really want to do in the future? Do I see myself in a business environment? Do I see myself in a sports field in the future? So it will just determine to say, are you pursuing an academic degree while you are doing your sports on the side? Or are you pursuing a professional athletic or sports related profession while you are doing academics on the side? I think one of the good examples that we had at the time, a guy like Ox, he was very good at rugby, but he was also very good academically. So it's always about identify your strengths, and if you can manage a tough course, then go for it. I think it's always nice to challenge yourself. Try to see how far you can push yourself, actually.
No, great answer. Great answer. I'm sure, the youngsters out there and everyone out there listening will really use that. Just to end off our discussion today, just in a few words, there's a quick question for you from Kashiso Kenilworth. He says, talking of leadership at Rays, were you the head boy at HTS Louis Sports?
Why did he have to go there? Okay, no, definitely not. The thing is, I like, as much as I like to challenge myself, but I'm also one to learn from the past. Because what happened was, I wanted to be the top performing academic student at that point in time. And the previous year, one of the matriculants who was the head girl at that point in time, she was the top performing student in her grade 11. But when she was in matric, her performance went down a bit because as a head girl and a head boy, let's say, there's just too much admin involved that they have to do, engaging with the principal and the RCL and everyone. There was just too much admin that they were doing. And from my side, I was like, Ish, I don't want to have that kind of admin to deal with. I want to finish my high school career as a top performing student. So I was like, it's fine if I have to let go of this position of head boy. I know my high school principal was a bit sad about it. My son's teacher, my accountant, everybody was a bit sad about it. But it's like, it's for me. I have to do what's good for me. It's fine if they're not happy with it.
Oh, fantastic. You touched on something I think, very important right there. Being able to make a decision that's best for you and not the decision that everyone else around you thinks is the best decision. So I'm sure a lot of people can learn from that and can learn from you. Baholo, it's been such a nice conversation that we had today. I'm sure our viewers enjoyed it, and I'm sure they learned a lot, and they're still yet to even watch it again and learn so much more from this conversation. So, on behalf of Africa Sports Consultancy, would like to thank you for joining us today, and would like to wish you all the best with your volleyball, with your accounting, and we're looking forward to having you back here in the near future. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks a lot, Francis. Thanks to Africa Sports Consultancy as well. I really appreciate it.
To our viewers out there, thank you so much for joining us this evening for such a lovely conversation that we had. Find us here again next week, Thursday, between 7 and 8 p.m. and keep looking out for our next guest. And have a good evening.